folks. Welcome to Sundsvall that has a really great and sunny November day today. During my years here in the vinyl community, I've been having a segment called My Celebration of, a year celebration segment where I celebrate, when I do videos where I celebrate a specific year by showing some of the best singles, some of the best albums, and top it all off by showing the most selling single in Sweden that year. I've been that one has been a little bit on the downside now recently. I think it was more than a year since I did the last one. I think that the year charts that I also do have been taking over a bit. But I also realized when I looked in the playlist that I only have 1 year left in the 80s that I haven't been doing. So even though this is a year that I will do a year chart of within a year from now, I still think that I should complete a year celebration from the 80s by doing this year also. And I'm talking about 1988. So why not do it and close the 80s when it comes to year celebrations. Then what I'll do more years, I have later in the 90s or even 70s if I want to. If I do those, time will tell. But it started off as 80s and early 90s, and I'm done with those years after this, so who knows. 1988, I was 13 years old, going 14. I didn't think that year was the best year of the 80s, definitely not. It was a lot of extremely boring songs, like those songs from the Dirty Dancing soundtrack by Eric Carmen and Patrick Swayze, Jennifer Warnes and Bill Medley. I thought those songs were pretty bad. And there were a lot of extremely boring ballads also that didn't do me anything. There were a lot of metal, of course, power metal that I was all that interested in. Rap started, and at least being more and more selling here in Sweden, and so on. So 1988 wasn't a favorite year of mine. I have changed my mind of some songs since then, but still I think 1988 is a weaker year. But of course there are some great songs from that year, so of course I can celebrate those by doing a year celebration of the year 1988. And 88 was a year where there was a lot of big selling female artists. So I'm going to start with a quartet of great selling women. Even though this one didn't have her best year during 1988, she didn't release any specific album until 1 year later. But one of my absolute favorite songs by her came out this year. I'm talking about Madonna, and the final single from the Who's That Girl album, The Look of Love. During 88. Before 88, I had a period when I didn't like Madonna all that much. I don't know why. Stupidity, I guess, or teenage revolt. What can I say? But when I heard The Look of Love, I actually realized that, hey, this was a really great song. And I started to change my mind about Madonna and like her music a lot. So my interest for Madonna changed to the better again when I heard this song, actually. Another girl, but a little bit younger, little Tiffany. and could have been a ballad that was pretty huge here in Sweden. She was only 16, something like that, 15 or 16. A whole lot better than I Think We're Alone now in those songs. I think this is a pretty cute and very, very nice arranged ballad, definitely. It was also a breakthrough year for this singer of the Go-Go's, Belinda Carlisle. Heaven is a Place on Earth, released in 1987 in some countries, but in Sweden it made it to the charts in 1988. Though this is it's a great song, but it's very overplayed. So not a song that I put on all that much nowadays. I actually prefer this one. This summer single was actually a bit better. Was actually a lot better nowadays. Circle in the Sand, and I actually bought this song pretty close after it was released. So it was actually one of the earliest singles that I bought. More female artists, but in another style, completely another style. Enya, Once Upon a Time, member of Clannad. And Orinoco Flow was thought by many journalists that it would be one of the songs that you would remember mostly from 1988. Maybe it wasn't that big that it would be the song you would remember from the year, but it was big, definitely. Really great one, fantastic arranged, definitely fantastic arranged. We're leaving the girls now for a while, or maybe this is an artist that many girls liked. I'm talking about George Michael, who kept on just spitting out singles from the Faith album. And some of the best songs from that album came out this year. It started a little bit slow with a song called One More Cry that was a huge hit here in Sweden, but that I thought was dreadfully boring. But then it became a whole lot better when Father Figure came out. Really great and soft and amazing arranged song. When Monkey came out, this one is definitely one of my favorite George Michael songs, and unfortunately it's very underrated. Should have become a bigger hit than it became. And since the Faith album is an album that has a whole lot of different kind of moods and genres, there also were some jazz when he did Kissing a Fool. Really great, maybe not as a jazz song, but as a blend of pop and jazz. Is really fantastic and amazing mood in this one. And we have a band that also had another great 1988, even though they only released a remix album this year, but the singles from this remix album were really awesome. I'm talking about Pet Shop Boys, who first, of course, released a final album from the 1987 actual album, Heart, in a remixed version. That was really great. And here we having Pet Shop Boys amazing ways to do interesting B-sides. The B-side here is I Get Excited, You Get Excited Too. A really great B-side. Also a great and a little sad video. Then we have Domino Dancing from the Introspective remix album. And a really great Latino electro disco track. And when it comes to B-sides, I early realized that this is such an amazing B-side. Don Juan, the B-side of Domino Dancing, is a really great one. Also a single that has been with me for a very long time. I think I bought it somewhere down in 1990. And we also have Left to my own devices, Che Guevara and Debussy to a disco beat. And the B-side is a little special. I know that that song is a song that not all Pet Shop Boys fans like, but I think it is it's so weird that it actually is amazing. The sound of the atom splitting. One of Pet Shop Boys' most oddest songs, definitely. But a great song, definitely. Continuing with the electro synth pop style, synth pop didn't have that good year. Maybe that was one of the reasons why I didn't enjoy '88 as much as I should, maybe. Pet Shop Boys had a great year. Depeche Mode didn't have that great year. On the other hand, they would have a better years ahead of them. Pet Shop Boys had a great year, but also Erasure was one of the few that of the synth band that actually had a great selling year. A Little Respect, a classic Erasure song, really great song that has been made by a whole different kind of artists. I think Weezer had done a version of it also. No, Wheatus had done a version of it, and a rock version of it. And it's soon Christmas, so why not have a Cracker International Christmas EP released by Erasure, but actually the only Christmas song that sounds Christmas on this album is the final one, She Won't Be Home. The other one is singing about Christmas, but otherwise Stop, which was the most played song from this one. The Hardest Part, Knocking on Your Door, aren't Christmas related songs. And here, Merry Christmas in different kind of languages. And here up, God Jul in Swedish. We have, when we add it, what a transfer over to some Swedish singles. This was one of the biggest songs in Sweden this year. Not the most selling Swedish single, because that one I'm saving to last, because that was the most selling single in Sweden this year. But one of the biggest hits in Sweden, Swedish singer Mauro Scocco, who then had gone away from his synth pop band Ratata. He released a song called Sarah, and that one was a huge hit, and everybody was saying, "Oh Sarah, kom ut ikväll." And I was a gigantic fan of this song. I guess it had a little to do with that I was in love with a girl with a name with that, but at the time. But it is a great song, definitely a classic, a Swedish classic. And here we have another song that would qualify to a Swedish classic that was a huge hit this year. Swedish group Transdance and You're Gonna Get It. Transdance released a lot of great singles this year. At the time I wasn't that into this one. It is a little bit change of style from the previous singles the previous years. So I wasn't that fond of this song to begin with. I think it's a great song today, even though there are Transdance songs that I also think is even better. But it was a huge hit. You might call it their biggest hits ever during their career. I have some little special here, stuff that were big in 1988, and that I thought I would show some singles from. Both with British music. First we have Stock, Aiken and Waterman, production trio that were amazingly big during these years at the end of the 80s with their almost 70s disco style with 80s sound. And they were really great. Back then, I didn't like Stock Aitken Waterman either, but in 1998 I started to discover that Stock Aitken Waterman did some really great songs. So this was the year when my opinion about their music changed a lot, and they had a lot of artists that they produced during these years, and songs that will be iconic in disco 80s disco genre. And I will show some that maybe didn't became that big, but were really really great. Mel and Kim, two sisters that had a great 1987 with his like showing out, get fresh at the weekend, respectable, and had some big success with those. This wasn't that big, but I actually think that that's the way it is. Is one of their best songs. Definitely a great dance beat to this one. You remember Senita? GTO. Boy Toy, Toy Boy, Toy Boy. But I think her best songs were released this year. This one, I Don't Believe in Miracles. Actually, really, really great Stock Aitken Waterman production. As is this one, Cross My Broken Heart. And her single, Toy Boy, is at the B-side. But this is Stock Aitken Waterman at its best. We have two DJs, Pat and Mick. Also bring some nostalgia. Maybe not the song that much, because this one has grown through the year. I didn't like it a bit back then. A little too catchy for my taste. And then, it is catchy, you know that. But I watched, in 1988, I watched Sky Channel a whole lot. We had cable TV in my home back then, and I watched Sky Channel. I Dream of Jeannie reruns. I watched Transformers. I watched the Mask, the cartoon series. I watched, of course, wrestling, Superstars of Wrestling, Saturday Night's Main Event, and I watched the music chart programs hosted by Pat Sharp. But this one is actually a really catchy, great song. A little cheesy, but I've never been afraid of that. Boy bands started to come up, and we have a boy band that is very forgotten today. Stock Aitken Waterman's boy band that is most remembered today is, of course, Big Fun. They had a bigger, of course, 1989. 1988 had Brother Beyond, another boy band that was pretty much forgotten, actually. This was the biggest hit, The Harder I Try. Really cute and great stuff, actually. Produced by Stock Aitken Waterman. Later songs would be lowered down to the level under Stock Aitken Waterman, produced by Phil Harding, that was producing those in the Stock Aitken Waterman company that they didn't have the time or energy to put any work on. So they put it on to Phil Harding, and he could do a familiar sound. But Brother Beyond were okay, not the best one, but this one was a great song. Another one, British style, that was pretty big back in 1988, and that my interest starting to grow slowly for, was the British house, dance house style, that had some really, really great songs. That also were played a lot at Sky Channel, of course. Inner City, Good Life, Good Life, Good Life. And of course, the classic. This is one of the best songs in the genre. S Express with theme from S Express. S Express, of course, Mark M project that released, I think, 2 albums. The first one is good, the other one was not so good. And we have a band that also were in Britain big in the genre. I'm talking about Bomb the Bass. This is Don't Make Me Wait and Mega Blast. Also had Aretha Franklin song in new version, Say a Little Prayer. So, Bomb the Bass. And a great hit single back in 1988, Stacker Humanoid by Humanoid. So some really, really classic dance tracks in the house genre. And this one, though not a real house track, but it was a really, really catchy one, where actually the guys who would later be known as KLF took a Gary Glitter song and made it in their own version, and it became far better than the original. Doctor in the TARDIS with the Time Lords. Doctor Who, Doctor Who. I just love this song. It's funny, it's silly, but it's real amazing and catchy. Albums, some great albums this year. We have a Swedish album, one of my favorite Swedish albums of all time, by one of my absolute favorite singers of all time, Peter Lemark, Närmare gränsen, Closer to the Border or Limit. I showed this one pretty recently, but it's so good I can show it again. Amazing album with some great songs. Also the first album by him that I bought. But then I bought it in a cassette copy, not this one. This one is a newer that I bought again, upgrade. Great album that was released this year that I also bought as a cassette version, but that I got for free actually many years later. Kim Wilde, Close. Kim Wilde also had a great 1998 with You Came and Never Trust a Stranger singles, Hey Mr. Heartache. And this is a really great album, definitely, with some of her absolute best songs. I listened a lot to Never Trust a Stranger during the autumn. I really like that one. Also, going back a little bit to Stock Aiken and Waterman that I showed, because of course, Kylie Minogue debut, where she debuted with I Should Be So Lucky, The Locomotion, Got to Be Certain, and my favorite this year that, as I said, I wasn't a big Stock Aiken Waterman fan back then, but I learned to love Je ne sais pas pourquoi, really great song, and through that I started to discover more and more Stock Aiken Waterman, starting to really like Kylie. So great debut from Kylie Minogue with a lot of Stock Aiken Waterman candy. Roxette, more Swedish. This may be the biggest best-selling album in Sweden this year. The Look Sharp album, that of course contains The Look, Dressed for Success, and Listen to Your Heart, where this one is still an amazing classic. Marie Fredriksson in her ace. But still a great album that gives me a whole lot of nostalgia, even though The Look is much overplayed and Dressed for Success isn't my favorite song by them. But Sleeping Single, Dance Away, and Cry, and Chances are great album tracks. And I have, of course, one of the best albums ever, in my opinion. German singer Sandra, who released a fantastic album, Into a Secret Land. This is an amazing, beautiful cover art, definitely. and such an amazing, dreamy uh, synth, European, German synth disco tracks. Amazing production by Michael Cretu, of course. But Sandra's album is definitely a masterpiece in my opinion. And finally, the most selling single of the year. I said it was Swedish. It's a movie song that was number one in Swedish hit charts for many weeks during the spring. A soundtrack from an album called PS, Sista Sommaren, PS, the final summer, the last summer. A song by Swedish singers Tone Norum and Tommy Nilsson, who sang a song called Allt som jag känner. But they also had an English version of it, and then it was called My Summer With You. I still think this one is a really great and fantastic made ballad. Maybe a little overplayed, but I still think it is a really great one. So I like this one. But from the movie PS Sista Sommaren, My Summer With You, or Allt som jag känner, the most selling single in Sweden this year. So that was creme de la creme of 1988, a year that I started to discover foreign music outside of the hit charts and Swedish hit charts. I'm going to say Swedish hit charts more and more, thanks to Sky Channel a lot. And I have a lot that I haven't been mentioning. I've even been mentioning a great album by Level 42, Starring at the Sun, that was really great. I mentioned it anyway now. So keep on sending questions to my Q&A if you want to know something, and I will bring up the answers in the beginning of December. The deadline is 7th of December. So until next time, have a real nice weekend. No matter where you are, no matter what you do, take care and see ya.